Welcome to another deep dive. This time we're going exploring the psychology of money.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah, it's a topic you're clearly into, and
Definitely.
we got a great source to work with.
Awesome.
You sent over an audiobook excerpt of Morgan Housel's book.
Yep. The psychology of money.
That's the one. So
Yeah.
we're going to unpack some of his key insights.
Love it.
And I think what's really cool about Housel's approach is that it's not just about, like, the mechanics of money.
Right.
It's about the human behaviors.
Yeah, the psychology behind it.
Exactly. And get ready for some pretty captivating stories.
Ooh, I love a good story.
Oh, you're in for a treat. We've got tales of extravagance,
Oh,
discipline, saving, and even a janitor who quietly built a multi-million-dollar fortune.
wow. That's what I'm talking about.
Right. So let's dive in. One of the things that struck me right away reading Housel
Yeah.
is this idea that financial success isn't just about, crunching numbers.
It's so much more than that.
It really is. He says that it's deeply intertwined with psychology.
Absolutely. Our emotions, biases, even our past experiences all play a role.
He makes this point so clearly with these contrasting stories of a tech executive
Oh, yeah, I remember that one.
and a man named Ronald Reed.
Ronald Reed. What a story.
Right. Their approaches to wealth were just night and day.
Completely opposite.
It's amazing. So let's start with the tech exec.
Okay.
So this guy's brilliant, like a total genius in his field.
Okay.
But he ends up making some pretty questionable financial decisions.
Like what did he do?
Well, the one that really stood out to me is him throwing gold coins into the ocean.
Wait, what? Seriously?
Seriously.
Yeah.
Like straight out of a movie.
That's wild. Like, why would he do that?
It seems like it was all about showing off his wealth rather than actually building it.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's not a good sign.
And sadly, this kind of extravagant behavior
Yeah.
ultimately contributed to his downfall.
Ouch.
Yeah, big ouch.
So what about Ronald Reed? How's his story different?
Okay, so Ronald Reed was a janitor in Vermont.
A janitor?
Yep, lived a super modest life.
Okay.
Like, nobody would have guessed that he was secretly building this massive fortune.
Really? A multi-millionaire janitor?
Multi-millionaire. Through investing.
No way. How did he do that?
Well, he was super disciplined.
Okay.
He bought stocks in companies. He understood,
What kind of companies?
think like gas stations,
Okay.
utility
That's-
companies.
Okay,
or-
stuff everyone uses.
Exactly. And he held on to those stocks for years,
Wow.
reinvesting the dividends and just letting that power of compounding work its magic.
It's incredible how much difference time can make.
Isn't it? It's like that tortoise and hare story,
Slow and steady wins the race.
Exactly. And what's interesting is that Reed wasn't just patiently waiting around.
Right.
He was actively making these smart choices.
So it was a combination of patience and smart decision-making.
Yeah, and it totally paid off.
It's a good reminder that we all have our own money stories, right?
Oh, absolutely. Shaped by our upbringing,
Our experiences.
our values.
Yeah, and understanding those influences can really help us make better decisions.
Totally. Now, are you ready for a little bit more about the concept of tails in finance?
Oh, yeah, you mentioned that earlier. Tails in finance. Break it down for me.
Okay, so imagine this.
Okay.
Your entire financial life is like a timeline.
Okay, got it.
Now, picture just a handful of dots on that timeline.
Dots.
Those dots represent the really big moments.
Okay.
The unexpected wins,
Yeah.
the occasional losses,
Right.
and the huge decisions that really shape the trajectory of your financial journey.
Gotcha. So like those key turning points.
Exactly. Those are your financial tails.
So it's not about like every single financial choice we make.
Not necessarily.
More about those big events that have a huge impact.
Exactly. And that's something we often overlook,
We get caught up in the day-to-day.
Right. We forget about the impact of these defining moments.
Housel uses a really interesting example to illustrate this.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
Bill Gates and his childhood friend, Ken Evans.
Oh, I remember that story.
Both incredibly bright guys. Tragedy struck when Evans died in a mountain climbing accident.
Oh, that's right.
It's a heartbreaking story, but it highlights how a single unpredictable event can completely change the course of someone's life.
Even for someone as successful as Bill Gates.
Exactly. And it shows the role of chance.
Yeah.
We can plan for the future,
Make good choices.
but ultimately, some things are just beyond our control.
And that's a powerful reminder.
It is.
Makes you think about all those sliding door moments in life.
Definitely.
Like what if things had gone a little differently?
Right. It's fascinating to think about.
I'm also thinking about Walt Disney.
Oh, yeah.
His journey to success was anything but straightforward.
It was full of ups and downs.
So many risky decisions.
Yeah. And fortunate breaks, too.
Right, from almost going bankrupt to creating Mickey Mouse.
Mickey Mouse. What a game changer.
Right. Disney's story is full of these tales that ultimately shaped his legacy.
So basically, we don't have to be right all the time.
It's not about perfection.
More about recognizing opportunities.
Taking calculated risks.
And knowing that setbacks are normal.
Exactly. It's all part of the journey.
Learning to dance with luck and risk.
I like that. Now, how does this concept of tales connect to compounding?
Ah, yes, compounding, another big theme Housel digs into.
It is. But it can be kind of hard to grasp.
Yeah, it's one of those things that's easier said than done.
We hear about the magic of compound interest.
But it doesn't always feel magical.
Well, right. So how can we actually see its power in action?
Well, think about Warren Buffett,
Okay.
one of the most successful investors ever.
Definitely.
He didn't become a billionaire overnight.
It took time.
He's been investing consistently for over 75 years.
Wow, that's a long game.
It is. It's about steady, persistent growth over time, much like those tales that shape a financial journey.
That's a good way to think about it.
Compounding can be kind of counterintuitive, though.
How so?
It's like watching grass grow,
Okay.
slow and steady.
Not always dramatic or exciting.
Right. But over time, those small gains can add up to something incredible.
Gotcha. Can you give me an example, something I can really visualize?
Think about the evolution of technology storage.
Okay.
You know how we went from kilobytes to megabytes, gigabytes, and now terabytes?
Yeah, all in a pretty short amount of time.
Exactly. That exponential growth is a powerful illustration of compounding.
So it starts slow and then all of a sudden, boom.
Exactly.
So starting early, even with small amounts,
Yeah.
and just letting time work its magic.
That's the key. Consistency and patience often trump trying to time the market.
That makes sense. It's not about getting rich quick.
It's about building wealth over the long haul.
All right, so we've talked about tales,
Compounding.
and now I'm intrigued by this concept of the paradox of wealth.
Ah, yes. A bit of a brain teaser.
It is. What's paradoxical about wealth?
Well, Housel says, wealth is what you don't see.
Ooh, that's interesting.
It's about that unseen potential.
Okay.
The assets you've built that haven't been spent on fancy things.
So it's about resisting that urge to splurge.
Exactly. It's about building that financial cushion that gives you freedom and flexibility.
And he illustrates this with a great story
Oh, which one?
about a guy named Roger who drives around LA in a Porsche.
Fancy. I think he was loaded.
Right. But then one day he shows up in a beat-up Honda.
Wait, what happened to the Porsche?
Repossessed.
Ouch.
Yeah, appearances can be deceiving.
For sure. So true wealth is about what you don't spend.
It's about those unseen assets that provide security and control.
That makes a lot of sense.
It's a good reminder that financial stability isn't always glamorous.
Right. It's about building a solid foundation.
One that can weather life's unexpected storms.
And in today's world, saving is more important than ever.
Absolutely. Things are constantly changing.
Having that financial foundation gives you security,
Control.
the ability to adapt and thrive no matter what comes your way.
It's about taking ownership of your financial future.
So it's not about deprivation. It's about empowerment.
Exactly. Saving gives you options.
The flexibility to take risks
Pursue your passions.
or just weather those inevitable financial storms.
Makes sense. So we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have, from tales to compounding to the paradox of wealth.
And I think it's clear that understanding our own psychology is crucial when it comes to money.
It's not just about the numbers.
It's about the human element.
The emotions, the biases, the stories we tell ourselves.
And that's where things get really interesting.
It is. So are you ready to dive into some of the specific behaviors and biases that can trip us up when it comes to money?
Let's do it. Okay, let's unpack some of those tricky behaviors and biases that can really mess with our financial decisions.
Yeah, there are so many psychological factors at play.
One that really stood out to me was loss aversion.
Oh yeah, that's a big one.
It's this idea that the pain of a loss hits us way harder than the joy of an equivalent gain.
It's so true. Our brains are wired to avoid pain.
So how does that play out with money?
Well, imagine finding a $100 bill on the sidewalk.
That would make my day.
Right. You'd be pretty happy. Now imagine losing a $100 bill that you already had in your wallet.
That would be the worst.
The feeling of loss would probably be much stronger.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Even though it's the same amount.
Exactly. That's loss aversion in action.
So how does that affect our investment decisions?
It can make us overly cautious.
Okay, I can see that.
We become so fixated on avoiding losses that we miss out on potential gains.
Like holding on to a stock that's going down.
Exactly. Even if it makes sense to sell.
Because we don't want to admit defeat.
Right. Feels like we're losing even more.
It's like we're emotionally attached to that initial investment.
Yeah, and that brings us to another bias, overconfidence.
Oh, overconfidence. I've definitely seen that one.
It's the tendency to think we're better investors than we actually are.
Yeah, like my friend who's convinced he can beat the market
We often overestimate our abilities.
and underestimate the role of luck.
Exactly. We make a few good decisions, and suddenly we think we're geniuses.
But the market's unpredictable.
It is. There are so many factors beyond our control.
So how do we guard against these biases?
Awareness is key.
Just knowing they exist.
It can help us make more rational decisions.
What else can we do?
Seek out diverse perspectives. Talk to people with different investment philosophies.
Challenge our own assumptions.
Exactly. And, if needed, work with a financial advisor.
Someone who can provide objective guidance.
Right.
Now, I'm curious about this tension Housel brings up between short-term satisfaction and long-term goals.
That's a constant battle.
It is. It's like we want it all.
Instant gratification and long-term success.
But those two things don't always go hand in hand.
Think about it like this.
Okay.
You see a brand new car that you absolutely love.
Oh, yeah, I can picture it.
It's sleek, stylish, everything you've ever wanted.
Buying it would feel amazing.
Instant gratification.
Right. Totally.
But that purchase could set you back years in terms of reaching your financial goals.
Like saving for a house or retirement.
Exactly. It's about making choices that prioritize your future self.
It's that classic marshmallow test.
Can you resist the temptation now for a bigger reward later?
And it applies to so many areas of life.
Especially finances.
It's those daily choices that really add up.
Those small decisions about spending and saving.
They have a huge impact in the long run.
They do.
Housel also talks about the dangers of comparing ourselves to others.
Oh, that's a big one in today's world.
Especially with social media.
It's so easy to get caught up in what everyone else is doing.
And buying.
Their fancy vacations, their expensive clothes.
It can make you feel like you're not doing enough.
Exactly. But it's important to remember that we're only seeing a curated version of reality.
We're comparing our insides to other people's outside.
Right. We don't see the debt they might have or the sacrifices they've made.
It's so easy to fall into that trap.
So instead of comparing ourselves to others,
What should we do?
focus on our own goals and values.
Define what enough looks like for us.
Exactly. It's not about keeping up with external expectations.
It's about finding a level of financial well-being that aligns with our own definition of success.
Now, how about we shift gears and talk about some practical ways to apply these principles?
Sounds good to me. What can listeners do today to start building a stronger foundation for their financial future?
Well, one of the most fundamental steps is to create a budget.
A budget.
It doesn't have to be complicated,
Okay.
but you need to know where your money is going.
Track your income and expenses.
Identify areas where you might be overspending.
And set some realistic savings goals.
Exactly. And Housel is a big advocate for automating your savings.
Oh, automating savings. I like that idea.
It's like paying yourself first.
So you're not tempted to spend it
Right. A portion of your income goes straight to your savings.
before you even see it.
Exactly.
What about investing? Any advice for beginners?
Start small, but start now.
Okay.
Time is your greatest ally.
So even if it's just a small amount each month?
It will add up over time thanks to compounding.
Compounding. Always coming back to that.
It's a powerful force. And consider a low-cost index fund.
An index fund? What's that?
It's a diversified portfolio of stocks that tracks a particular market index.
So you don't have to pick individual stocks.
Right. It's a great way to get started.
And remember, investing isn't about getting rich quick.
It's a long game.
It's about having a strategy,
And sticking with it.
even when the market gets bumpy.
Exactly. Patience and consistency are key.
Okay, so we've talked about budgeting, saving, investing.
What about mindset?
Oh, yeah, we touched on the power of a growth mindset.
How can we actually cultivate that belief?
Yeah, it's one thing to talk about it, but how do we put it into practice?
Well, it starts with our self-talk.
The way we talk to ourselves.
Exactly. Instead of focusing on our limitations,
Past mistakes.
right, let's shift our language towards growth and possibility.
So instead of saying, I'm terrible with money,
Try saying, I'm committed to learning and improving my financial skills.
oh, I like that. It's a subtle change, but it feels more empowering.
It is. It's about reframing our internal dialogue
Focusing on our potential for growth.
rather than dwelling on our shortcomings.
And don't be afraid of challenges.
Right. Seek out opportunities to learn.
Take a financial literacy course.
Read books about investing.
Talk to people who are financially savvy.
The more you learn, the more confident you'll become.
Makes sense.
And celebrate your successes along the way.
Oh, yeah. Those small wins are important.
They keep you motivated.
And reinforce those positive habits.
Exactly. So remember, financial well-being isn't just about dollars and cents.
It's about creating a life that feels good,
Secure,
fulfilling.
aligned with your values.
And that's where aligning your financial decisions with your values comes in.
Making sure your money is working for you.
Not against you.
Right. It's about using your financial resources to create a life you love.
So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive,
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground.
we have from loss aversion to budgeting to the power of a growth mindset.
And I think the key takeaway is that
Financial success is a journey.
it's about understanding yourself
Your psychology, our values.
and making choices that align with your long-term vision.
Exactly. It's not a destination. It's a continuous process of learning and growth.
All right, welcome back to the deep dive.
It's time to wrap up our exploration of the psychology of money.
It is. We've been through a lot.
We have, from those sneaky biases,
To the power of compounding.
the importance of aligning your money with your values.
It's been a wild ride, but now it's time to get practical.
Yeah, let's distill all these insights into actionable steps.
Steps that you, the listener, can use to improve your financial well-being.
Because ultimately, that's what this is all about, right?
It is empowering you to make better choices and build a brighter financial future.
Housel emphasizes this point really well.
Yeah.
He says financial success isn't just about mastering spreadsheets.
Or memorizing investment strategies.
Right, it's about understanding yourself
Your own psychology.
and how it influences your relationship with money.
He tells his great story. Oh, I love his stories.
About a financial advisor who asks his clients a very simple question.
What's question?
What's the biggest financial mistake you've ever made?
Wow, that's powerful.
It is, right. It forces you to confront your past decisions.
And identify those patterns that might be holding you back.
Not about dwelling on the mistakes
It's about learning from them.
and making more conscious choices moving forward.
So it's about recognizing that we all have blind spots.
Biases that can lead us astray.
And once we acknowledge them, we can break free.
Move from reactive to proactive.
Take control. Make decisions that actually serve our best interests.
Okay, so one of the biggest takeaways from Housel's work is that
Yeah.
there's no one-size-fits-all approach to money.
Absolutely. What works for one person might not work for another,
It's so tempting to compare ourselves to others.
especially when it comes to investing.
But finding your own financial philosophy,
One that aligns with your risk tolerance.
your goals, your values.
That's essential.
We talked about Sandy Gottsman earlier.
The legendary investor.
Right. He prioritizes financial independence above all else.
But his approach might not be for everyone.
Some people are more comfortable taking risks.
They thrive on that excitement.
Others prefer a more conservative approach.
Slow and steady growth.
The key is to find what feels right for you.
Exactly. There's no right or wrong way as long as you're making informed decisions
Decisions that align with your own circumstances.
and your comfort level.
And that's where seeking guidance can be so valuable.
Oh, for sure. Talk to a financial advisor.
Read books.
Listen to podcasts.
Well, there's a wealth of knowledge out there.
Don't be afraid to tap into it.
All right, so let's move on to some practical action steps.
Okay, let's do it.
What can our listeners do today to start applying these principles?
One of the most basic but essential steps is
What's that?
create a budget.
A budget. I know it sounds simple.
It is, but so important.
Okay, so how do we do it?
Track your income and expenses.
Okay,
Identify areas where you might be overspending and set some realistic savings goals.
makes sense. And Housel also suggests automating your savings,
Oh yeah, that's a great tip.
like paying yourself first.
Exactly.
Yeah,
A portion of your income goes straight to savings.
before you even have a chance to spend it.
It takes the temptation out of the equation.
All right, what about investing? What if you're just starting out?
My advice, start small, but start now.
Okay,
Time is your greatest ally.
so even if it's just a small amount,
It will grow over time.
thanks to the power of compounding.
Right. Compounding is key.
We keep coming back to that.
It's a game changer. And consider a low-cost index fund.
What's an index fund again?
It's a diversified portfolio of stocks.
Oh, okay.
Cracks a particular market index.
So you don't have to pick individual stocks.
Exactly. It's a good way to get started.
And remember, investing is not about getting rich quick.
It's a long-term game,
Stay disciplined, stay focused.
even when the market gets volatile.
All right, so we've got budgeting, saving, investing,
Now let's talk about mindset.
the power of a growth mindset.
We touched on it earlier.
How can we actually cultivate that belief?
It starts with our self-talk.
The way we talk to ourselves.
Exactly. Instead of focusing on our limitations,
Our past mistakes.
we can shift our language towards growth and possibility.
Give me an example.
Instead of saying, I'm terrible with money,
Okay.
try saying, I'm committed to learning and improving my financial skills.
Oh, I see. It's subtle but powerful.
It is. It's about reframing our internal dialogue
Focusing on our potential.
rather than getting stuck in our shortcomings.
And don't be afraid to challenge yourself.
Take a financial literacy course.
Read books.
Talk to people who are financially savvy.
Expand your knowledge.
Exactly. And celebrate your successes along the way.
No matter how small.
Those small wins keep you motivated.
All right. Any final thoughts before we wrap up this deep dive?
I think it's important to remember that financial well-being isn't just about money.
It's about something bigger.
It's about creating a life you love,
One that feels secure,
fulfillment.
aligned with your values.
It's about having the freedom to pursue your passions
To provide for your loved ones.
and to make choices that bring you joy.
Well said. So as we conclude this exploration of the psychology of money,
We want to leave you with a final question.
a question to ponder.
What does enough look like for you?
What are your financial goals?
Well, your dreams.
Your aspirations?
Think about it.
Write down your thoughts.
Have a conversation with someone you trust
And start taking those steps no matter how small.
towards creating a financial future that feels truly yours.
It's been a pleasure diving deep with you today.
Always a pleasure.
We'll be back soon with another deep dive exploring a brand new topic.
Until then, keep learning, keep growing.
And keep diving deep.